And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have a special guest in the house today. I have Craig Langley all the way from across the pond. It's always so exciting. So, Craig, before we get stuck in talking about our topic today, can you just quickly, for anybody who doesn't know you, just say who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump right into our topic.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Gillian. Lovely to be here. I'm so chuffed to be invited to do this. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while now, and a lot of people know me in the LinkedIn community and the Clubhouse community. But my background is software. I've got a software degree. I've got a marketing diploma. I've been on LinkedIn since 2007. And I've been working in the automotive industry for the last 15 years in business development in the R&D space. So I spend my days talking to the car manufacturers and the main suppliers to the car manufacturers like Bosch and Continental.
Cool. And then, of course, that's in the day, and then in
Yeah,
the night, you put on your ninja costume, and you become a LinkedIn searcher and huge
yeah,
networker and business builder and growing your network. And that's what we're going to talk about today, which is harnessing the power of LinkedIn search. And I build this as, what do you get when you cross a Google goddess with the LinkedIn ninja, and you get one awesome 30-minute session today. So we're going to
yeah.
be talking about search, and more importantly, how searching grows your network. What do you do with those people after you search them? So just to clarify, let's talk about the free version of search today, because
Yeah.
most of us don't have Sales Navigator and even Premium. The majority of us are on the search, and I think typical the things that I've done wrong was like hitting that search limit that you only have like X amount of searches every
Yeah.
month. And I've like hit it right away. And then I'm like, oh, crap. I don't even know when I can redo it again. Like it's very, very vague. So can you just tell us like some of the errors that we're making, and just what should we be doing and what should we not be doing? Sort of the do's and don'ts, Craig.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I do a lot of outreach. So I do a lot of searching to find the right engineers, the right engineering managers to reach out and connect to. And I used to have a free account, and you're absolutely right. You do so many searches. It used to be about 40, and then all the results start to get grayed out, and you can only see your first connections. So I switched to premium because of that. But along the way, I started to figure out that the filters that you could use to make every one of your searches count. And the thing I discovered was Boolean searching. So George Boole was a mathematician back in the day. I think 19th century mathematician, and the logic that he came up with, we all learned it in school. I did computing in school. Was the and, the or, and the not. And if you combine those in a strategic way, you can get some very, very targeted searches that will keep you below that free search limit, so you don't get those grayed out results. And if you're
Cool.
really clever, you can save the URL. So if you get a really good search, save the URL as a bookmark in Google, or I save them in a spreadsheet, and then
Ah,
you can just tweak those searches, change a keyword. So one of the things that I search for is job title.
okay.
So I deal with about 120 different automotive companies, and they've all got dozens and dozens of engineering managers. So I try and find the right engineering manager. So that's a job title I use a lot to search for, and then to find out the right manager, I use the skills filter.
Hmm.
So for example, you could have a search that says title colon and then open quotes, engineering manager, close quotes. and skill. Now, I would pick something that was quite niche for my industry. I tend to work in autonomous driving, and I tend to work in what's called infotainment, which is clusters and radios. And there are certain tools that engineers will have used. So a very, very common skill that somebody would have in clusters, in dashboard electronics, would be a tool called Vector. So I could do title : engineering manager and skill Vector. And I would probably find the right kind of engineering manager doing that. And you can search for people. The other thing you can do is search for posts.
I've done that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you can combine hashtags or keywords. And suppose I was looking for people putting out infotainment posts, and I wanted infotainment posts, but I didn't want jobs or opportunities. I could do infotainment and not job or opportunity, because a lot of people, department heads, will post their jobs as posts, not as job posts, but as actual posts. So very, very common is to see department heads sharing their job posts. So you can exclude job posts, or you can use it as a very, very targeted way for a job seeker to find job posts. Because I find I've worked with quite a few job seekers, and sometimes the job adverts can be a little bit vague, a little bit too generic. So using keywords combined in a very thoughtful way, you can find some really targeted posts. And I use the post search quite a lot to find people posting in the last 24 hours and find the really active second connections to engage on their posts, comment on their posts, and reach out to connect to.
Oh, how clever is that? And I love that, because that kind of leads into, well, what would you do with this information? So it's not like, oh, I'm going to get a whole list of people and connect. You're saying use this strategically. It's like, go like, so for instance, say someone like me, if I was looking for video clients, right, that I could coach, I might want to do a search for people who are Toastmasters that I know we have that commonality because I'm a Toastmaster, but maybe I want to search like, can I search the text on posts? Like, could I find keywords like fear of speaking or fear of video?
You could find any keyword. You can find any hashtag. You can combine them. I think you can put three ands together and an or and a not, and you can have a whole string and save the URL and then just tweak the keywords.
Wow.
So
So powerful. That's so powerful. And I know I've actually used the search filters to find my own posts, because every once in a while, I don't do a very good job of like keeping all my posts, within reach. So sometimes I have to kind of go back and scroll and find something. So I might have somebody that said, you did especially on like a LinkedIn Live or something, and I want to follow up and post, oh, this was my video I did about how to use LinkedIn's, job search coach. And I got to go find that video. Well, I don't want to sit there scrolling, but if I find the search feature, I can find my own post posted by me.
You can, because you can select me instead of first connection or second connection. You can do me.
Yeah. And it's marvelous, because you kind of see it as like this side by side frame of here's all the posts, and then you can just kind of like click and comment, and it's very dynamic. You can see the two windows at the same time. I think it's very, very powerful, and sometimes I forget it's there.
Absolutely. And I also use it to find niche groups as well. So if I'm trying to find a niche group, I put some combined keywords in to find groups as well. So that can be quite powerful, especially if you're new to LinkedIn and you're wondering, what groups do I join? That can be really, really powerful.
So when you say you save a search,
Yeah,
for people that might not understand what that means, that's simply taking the URL, right?
yeah.
Or is it taking the search phrase? What are you
No,
actually
no, no,
saving?
no. You can take the actual URL, and you've got two ways of saving that. You can save it as a bookmark in Google or whichever browser you're using, or you can make a spreadsheet and put it in a cell of a spreadsheet, and then label it if you like, saying this is my go-to for this particular kind of post. And then what I do is I tweak them, and just tweak the keywords and the ands and the ors and the nots, and I have a bunch of URLs that I check in on, 2 or 3 times a week, and look what's happened in the last 24 hours. And then I get a little bit sophisticated because I start to keep a spreadsheet then of the URL of the regular posters in my industry that I want
Ah,
to check in on, that are in automotive. And in automotive, they're not that active in terms of putting out original content, not as active
right.
as in the LinkedIn and video community. But I have a spreadsheet of the active posters in my network, and I check in on their posts as well. So now
Wow.
we've got
And
the
then
now we've got the
okay.
bell button, haven't we? The alert,
Yeah, but I
which
think that, there's going to be there's only going to be so much, and I think that you're still going to, and you might just get a notification. So I think you want to still actively go and search people. So when you save a URL to a spreadsheet, that's a clickable link in the spreadsheet,
yeah,
right? You don't
yeah,
have to go and
absolutely. You make
copy and paste it. Just
No, you can just make it into a hyperlink and just click it.
cool, cool. And is it dynamic? Meaning, does it change? Like if I do a search for, Toastmasters that live in Australia and, are coaches, and I
Yeah.
do that search today, if I do that search in a month, am I just getting the same people or am I getting new people?
No,
New
no, because it'll register whether it's a post in the last, I think it's 24 hours, week, month. There's a timeline on how, on the search window for posts.
Wow, that's
Um,
great. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. There's a lot you can do. So I use skills a lot. I use title a lot. I used to use headline a lot, which was a
Okay.
great search filter. But it looks like LinkedIn have made a tweak, and that doesn't work anymore, which is really annoying. Really
Wow.
annoying. Yeah,
Wow, wow, and oh, that's sad. So when you do a name, so here's a question.
yeah.
You're searching and you do people's names. What if they have like emojis and like all those some people have like huge long titles with 70 initials and stuff like that. Do they get in the way or does it still find people? Like is that does
Well,
that
I
affect
think
your search?
there's a first name and a last name filter, so you can actually search, last name.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, they have emojis in their headline. It's less common for people to have it in their
Name.
actual name field. It's actually breaking the terms and conditions, isn't it? But a lot of people do it because they want, it's an anti automation protection, if you like. So it
True,
stops the
true.
automation tools from messaging them. But you can actually do a search for a first name or a last name. So I know Andy Foot, for example, I think he's got a dot or something like that, or he's got something in front of his name, isn't he? Or his Andy is spelt
And it's
differently.
all caps too, so that
Yeah,
makes it maybe a
yeah,
little bit different too.
yeah. But
Okay.
you can use a first name filter or a last name filter. There's also industry codes. Every industry's actually got a code.
A code? What kind of
Yeah,
this is new. What's a
yeah.
code?
So there's a number for every industry. For all the industry fields, there's actually a number. So you could do
Wow.
IND colon and put the number of the industry and combine that with keywords. So for me, if I'm looking for people who are specifically have got automotive and an engineering manager, I can use that field as well. So the industry. So I find it easier to make a targeted URL than it is to use the pull down filters.
Okay. No, well, you're extremely clever. You know, instead of being James Bond, I think you've combined yourself into Q. You're Q
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Bond all
Well,
combined.
that's only the start of the journey, isn't it? Once you've found a person, you then need
Right.
to connect with them and build rapport. You know, a lot of people, I see LinkedIn as the world's greatest database. You know, there's 800 million people. They've all got their skills, their experience, um, huge amount of information in their about section. I see it's the world's greatest database. So I spend probably 80% of my time on LinkedIn actually doing outreach.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So whereas a lot of people, they have a very strong um, posting strategy, so they get a lot of inbound inquiries.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I tend to generate my business by actually reaching out to people, building rapport to the point at which they get curious about my profile, and then I take it to a Zoom and an email address, and I've won quite a few customers this year by doing that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you. So we've talked about you can use search to find potential people to connect with. You've talked about you can find people and then begin posting comments on their posts. So you can begin looking
Yes.
at their posts, and now all of a sudden you're getting on their radar, which I think is good. You're not just like
Yeah.
some guy showing up in their, in mail, you're not that guy, which is always good.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some other things that you do with your search results?
Right. So I will send an invitation message. So we've got 300 characters, haven't we, to use for an invitation message. So very often I will, because it's quite a closed industry and I've got quite a big automotive network, I will know probably at least 20% of our mutual connections. I will know them personally. I've done a project with them, or we've worked on something together. So I'll name drop very often. And I'll say, oh, I see you used to work at BMW. I did a project for the electric Mini with X.
Mm.
Did you work with him? And that tends to work really well for me. Um,
That's awesome.
if they're posting, which in my industry is quite rare, I'll engage on their post and then say, really interesting post. Let's connect. I'd like to see more from you, which is the traditional way that we all try and build relationships. But that doesn't work too much in my industry because not that many people actually post. I think the average is
Mm.
18 or 19%, but in my industry it's probably less than 10.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So you must
yeah.
really stand out.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of people have come to me saying, "Well, we love your posts because you
Mm.
put a lot of good stuff out there." And I get a lot of following to my. I've got my own personal hashtag, which we all have. I've got Automotive by Craig, and that's built up quite well. I think I'm up to 468. I think I'm up to now, which I started that
Wow.
this time last year. So that's going really well. But I find building relationship in the direct messaging, not in a spammy way, but in a let's get to know each other, how can we help each other kind of way, works really well for me. So for example, I might connect to somebody who's testing engine control units at Volvo. We'll get talking about the technologies and what's happening in the industry. And then I'll say, look, I've got a really big network. Would you like me to introduce you to the guys I know at Mercedes?
Oh,
And
wow.
they go, oh, that would be terrific, because a lot of people, of course, want to move from one car manufacturer to another. Um, and it seems to be very, very powerful if you connect people who are doing the same job or slightly higher, a manager of a department to somebody at effectively a competitor, because it's such a small industry. Everybody moves around. So people move from BMW to Volvo to Mercedes. They move from Continental to Bosch. It's one of those industries. But it seems people are afraid to reach out to strangers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So speaking of strangers, We have lots of non-strangers. We have friends and relations in the comments. Let's take a couple of comments. So we have Annette
Oh,
counting
Annette.
down. She liked the countdown timer. Yay. Jeff,
Okay.
the Google goddess, and Mr. Bond, the man with the license to search.
Hi, Jeff.
That's precious. That is precious. Precious. Can't wait for this. Two of my LinkedIn lovelies. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, we love
Sarah's
Sarah
brilliant.
Clay. Hi there. We got Denise coming in. Hey, hi, Jillian, Ash. We've got the
Matt.
guru is search. Awesome. Awesome. All your fans are showing up, Greg. This is
Yeah, I
great.
love Matt's
This is great.
Christmas hat.
And listen, we're getting them out of bed in New Zealand, 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're joining us. So that is always a good thing that we're doing that. We've got Tina coming in from
Hi,
Belgium,
Tina.
which is always so wonderful. We love Tina. Save search URL, great tip. It really is. And
Yeah.
so, Craig, if when you save that, you're basically kind of hacking the LinkedIn system, so to speak,
You
because
are.
that
You
is
are.
one search, right? That's
Yeah, because it could be a string of ands and ors and nots. It could be quite a long string. And if you save that either as a bookmark or I like to use spreadsheets, so I save it as a spreadsheet, I can just quickly curate my feed without having Sales Navigator.
that's
I do have
amazing.
Sales Navigator, as you know. I'm a big Sales Navigator user. But if you don't have Sales Navigator, you can still curate your feed and not have to wade through the homepage by having 3 or 4 very targeted URLs that you just jump to, and you can jump to them every day if you want and say, show me the post the last 24 hours.
And so that would count for one search or
Yes.
it or okay, but so every time you run that search, it counts. But
Yeah.
but saving the URL, you're combining, maybe you would have 10 searches.
Well, if it's a
You're
search for a post, then it wouldn't. I don't think it counts. I think what it keeps track of is searching for profiles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even on a free account. I don't think there's a search limit for looking at posts. But
Okay.
if you had a number of searches for looking at people, say you're looking for engineering managers in a certain industry, and their second level connections you're searching for example, every time you make a new connection, that search is going to change, isn't it? Because you're getting
Yep.
more people coming within your center of your search circle for second degree connections. So you can do quite a lot of sophisticated stuff with a free account.
Yes, yes, yes. And Tina's right. Boolean
Yeah,
search is so useful for job seekers. And I'm just going to show
yeah,
this really, really quick that we actually have. Let me just turn off this comment for just a second. We have a link. It's the QR code. This is an excellent article that Craig, you did this for Jeff. You were the
yeah. I
guest
did it with
on his
Jeff. Yeah,
newsletter.
yeah. It was
So
such an honor to do that with Jeff Young,
So
and
if you have
it's
your
really
phone,
popular.
just go ahead. You can scan that QR code. It'll take you right to the article, or just go to Jeff's profile and look up articles and you can find this. But this is a fabulous article that you did. And you did it with it's all about Boolean searching. So Tina,
Yeah.
good segue there for us for the Boolean searching. And people don't get nervous about Boolean searching. People just kind of go, oh, I'm not with math and, all that sort of thing. I used to work in a public library, and Boolean searching is something that they taught the librarians so that we could basically, you just have to think of it as one big bucket. And how can I look at this bucket and narrow it down or
Yes.
expand the bucket? So it's really, once you kind of do a couple of things, it's really not that hard to figure out. You just
I,
have to kind of figure out what's the difference between the and, the not, when to use the quotes, when to use, parentheses, and just know, I'll tell you this Google stuff. It's not the same as Google search. LinkedIn searching is different because I think you use capital letters for
yeah.
like and you don't do that. You can't use the plus and the minus, which is what we
No.
do in Google search, and you
No.
can't use the wild card, the asterisk. That doesn't
No.
work, I
No.
believe.
I
So
think a lot of people are familiar with using the and the ought and the or rather, but the not can be so powerful. Yeah,
Yes.
if you know, to exclude, especially on a free account, to exclude a lot of irrelevant stuff by using the not.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
It's
and you
so important.
just play around and save the URL.
Yep, yep. We have Yana. Hello from South Europe. Excited to learn all about search secrets. We often rely on our connection crew and daily feed, but taking a search tool from time to time is very adventurous and an interesting idea. It's so true. Like, it's just amazing, even if it's just learning about someone's posts. And, I was just thinking back for Tina for a second, talking about job seekers. So, say, for instance, you were going to interview with somebody, you might want to, instead of just looking at the company, if you know who you're going to interview with, you could be looking at their posts, and then
Yeah,
you're finding some commonality. But I do that when I go and have like a Zoom coffee date with people. I'll go and I check their profile, of course, looking for those commonalities. Did we ever live in the same country, or whatever. But I also look at their posts, because to me, that's what they're interested in. So if you're aware of what they've been posting about, it gives you some conversation starters. So it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
a
And for job
fabulous thing.
seekers, absolutely, Julian. And for job seekers, a lot of department heads will write posts about open jobs. So you can
Oh,
sometimes find
oh,
jobs by looking at jobs at
golden,
department head
golden.
posts that you might struggle to find under the jobs section on LinkedIn.
Wow, wow. So I have to ask you, we talked about something before we started today, that you have this like super stealth thing that you can do now
Yeah,
and it was just kind of like
yeah,
so
yeah.
like
So
search in a different way. Search in a
yeah,
different
one
way.
of the big problems on LinkedIn is it has quite a poor method for searching and sorting messages. It's not like Outlook, where you
Mhm.
can sort by date and put a keyword in and it brings everything up. It's quite poor. And I was asked by one of my contacts, can I find a conversation I had with somebody last year?
In
And I
LinkedIn, like
said,
a
yeah,
LinkedIn
in LinkedIn. So
conversation.
he'd had a exchange of 10 or 15 LinkedIn in-mails, messages, direct messages, and he had no way of finding out who it was. He couldn't remember, but it was a really
Mm,
interesting conversation, and he wanted to find it again.
mm,
And I said, yes, you can find it. And I found it for him, and I put together a spreadsheet for him, because everything you do on LinkedIn gets stored. Every message you send and receive gets stored. Every connection, as we know, gets stored. And you can download your data archive, and everybody can do this. And you can get your connections.csv, you can get your messages.csv. And the good thing is, there was a change about 18 months ago where the URL, LinkedIn profile URL of anybody who's messaged you is in that spreadsheet.
wow.
Yeah, with a date and timestamp of every message. So all I did, and I've showed this to Jeff and Mac as well. What you can do with a little bit of pivot table and a few VLOOKUP formulas is you can actually create a spreadsheet which will show every single connection that has sent you a message,
Mm.
how many messages, the last date that you exchanged a message out of all your connections. And what you'll
Wow.
find, because I've done this for a few people, is everybody connects to, quite random people in their first 500 connections. Yeah, they're new
Yeah,
to
because you're just
LinkedIn.
trying to get to the
Yeah,
500.
you're trying to get the magic 500. And there will be a bunch of those 500 that you've not done anything at all with, and they're not relevant anymore.
Mm,
And there's
mm.
no advantage. They probably never see your posts, but even if they do, they don't engage because you're no longer relevant. It might be an old colleague that you used to work with. You've changed industries 3 or 4 times. They might have retired. I've got connections that I looked at that had moved into being school teachers, or they'd retired completely. And you can go through and locate those people really, really quickly by just saying, doing a filter that says show me everybody that I connected to in this particular year. So when you joined LinkedIn,
Right.
and show me ones that we've never exchanged messages with, or show me ones that I haven't messaged for 5 years.
Wow. Wow. You just went to like super ninja status,
Yeah,
Greg.
yeah, yeah.
Just like
So
you're
the other
beyond
good thing,
Bond now.
yeah. Well, the other good thing, for example, John Esperian, our friend John, I'm, we exchange messages quite often. So I can go into my spreadsheet and say, well, show me people that I've exchanged more than 100 messages with,
Mm.
and John will come up really quickly with his URL,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I can just label John's line to say, well, that's a person that I want to check in on his posts to make
Mm.
sure I don't miss anything. And there's a link that you can add to the URL, which as you've probably seen, there's a certain link at the end that jumps straight to posts.
Like recent activity or something,
Yeah,
something
recent
along that line.
activity. That's
Right.
exactly it. And you can just make a column for recent activity and go down and say, right, well, he's a LinkedIn coach. He's a LinkedIn coach. And you can just filter then and say, show me all LinkedIn coaches I've exchanged more than 50 messages with. And you can have a really targeted spreadsheet.
Wow. And I would think for anybody who is in sales and
Yeah,
prospecting,
exactly.
this is and you don't have Sales Navigator,
No.
this is an awesome way
Well, you
that
can
you
filter
could.
by, yeah, absolutely, Gillian. You can filter by job title as well, of course. So if you've got a
Wow.
bunch of people that have got a job title of business owner or CEO, you can straight away extract them and say, well, actually, I've got 50 connections that are CEOs. I've only messaged 20 of them.
Hmm.
Let's go and investigate the other 30.
Wow. That's
Mind
pretty
blown.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to have to talk on a follow-up, or maybe we'll do some videos about that, because
Yeah,
I think that's an incredible thing, and people should reach out to you to learn more about, working with you to do that, because I think that is extremely powerful. That's extremely
yeah,
powerful. And this is all for want of a better word, kosher in terms
yeah.
of
And that's the
LinkedIn.
thing. You're
This
just
is not
manipulating.
scraping.
No, no, absolutely. There's
This
no
is your
automation.
data.
It's your data. It's your LinkedIn data archive, which anybody can get. It's a standard spreadsheet. There's no automation or tools or Chrome extensions. It's just formulas in Excel with your own data archive.
So it's just being clever with the data that LinkedIn gives
Yeah.
you, because like you said, LinkedIn is this incredible database. And I believe Jeff Young just posted something, I'm thinking it was on Sunday, about getting your data archive and
Yeah.
how you do that. And I don't know, I've never done it right myself, but it's basically, I think there's like a small one and a big one, and it takes 48 hours, but
Absolutely.
it's probably something we should all be doing, because at any time, it's your
Well,
stuff.
I have some days where I hardly check LinkedIn and I spend my time in my LinkedIn spreadsheet.
Wow.
And I go, well,
Wow.
actually, what am I going to do with this person? And I go through and I spend time offline, if you like, coming up with a strategy for my LinkedIn spreadsheet. So
Wow.
it's kind of my LinkedIn database offline, which is
That's
why I use
amazing.
the term I see LinkedIn as a database.
Yes. Well, we're at the 33-minute mark, so I'm going to
Right.
go ahead and we'll close off for today. This was fascinating, Craig. I learned a
Thank you,
bunch.
Gillian.
I bet everybody, and to be honest with you, this is literally the tip of the iceberg. Like, you make it
Yeah.
realize, Craig, you could do a whole masterclass on this. Like, there's just so much here. But start again. I'm going to just flash it up on the screen again, that, do check out this article, and, please go check this out, because I just think this has a video from Craig and all sorts of great tips. So please go check out that article, because just has so much, and there is so much here. And I love what you've shared today. So thank you very much, Craig, for coming on the show today and talking with us. And I want you back. I want you back. So
Thanks very much, Julian. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm absolutely chuffed to get the invite.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Bye, everybody. We will see you next week with another special guest.